Turning now to Decision 2024, an earthquake on abortion that many say might have just decided the election 8 months out. The Arizona Supreme Court resurrects an 1864 law written by one man during the Civil War that bans nearly all abortions in the state and punishes those who break that law with up to 5 years in prison. While some pro-life advocates are celebrating this decision, many on the right are also condemning what they call a draconian law that will cost them the White House. Which is it? Here to discuss this and more is Mo Kelly, the host of Later with Mo Kelly on KFI 640. Good morning, Mo. Nice to have you with us in the morning. What a treat.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So I know you read the headlines. The Arizona Supreme Court sends shockwaves across the country, resurrecting that law from 2 centuries ago when women couldn't even vote. And they're doing this despite 61% of Arizona voters saying that abortion should be legal. So how significant is this decision? Did it just turn Arizona blue?
I wouldn't say it turned Arizona blue. There's a complexity to the issue. We can talk about Arizona on a state level where Republicans control the Assembly and state Senate by small margins, and that could be flipped to blue. But in terms of the federal representatives, you had Kyrsten Sinema, who is a Democrat, who is now an independent, not running for re-election. That, if anything, makes it easier for Ruben Gallego to become senator and keep it blue on a senatorial level. And then there's the presidential level where President Biden, then candidate Biden, won Arizona, but barely. So if anything, it has more of an impact on a state level, presumably, than it would on a federal level. It's helpful for Democrats, but it doesn't necessarily change anything on a federal level.
Interesting. And the timing, though, you have to admit is significant. It comes right after Trump's major flip-flop on abortion rights. First, he took credit for overturning Roe, but after the 6-week ban in Florida and a near total ban now in Arizona, he seems to know that a lot is at stake. How does this impact him?
I think it impacts him in the way that he understands that it doesn't benefit him personally to be on the wrong side of history and the wrong side of the issue as it relates to abortion. This is also on the tail end of what has happened in Florida with their 6-week abortion ban that is being pursued and is going to eventually come into law. This abortion issue, whenever it's been on the ballot, has been a loser for Republicans. Donald Trump has talked about that. He is aware of that, and he's shifting his stance to be in concert with most of the nation when it comes to that issue. I don't know if it's going to help Donald Trump big picture, but he, at least personally, is sensitive to it, how it may hurt him politically.
Well, isn't it already? I mean, it's already dividing Republicans. Mike Pence calling this flip-flop a slap in the face. Trump's also going after Lindsey Graham for calling it a big mistake. You don't see this as a big divisive issue now, further, dividing the party?
I don't know if it's dividing the party. We've had intra-party squabbles on the right for quite some time, and Donald Trump has still been able to get the lion's share of support. This man still has 88 indictments that he's facing, but he has gained in the polls and he has secured, presumably, the nomination for the Republican Party. So Trump's voice is not only going to be loudest, but it's going to be strongest. Mike Pence is the former vice president. It's important in our discussions, but it's not important politically. He's not running for office. Lindsey Graham is not up for re-election. And in the end, I believe they're going to come home and fall in line with whatever Donald Trump decides, because ultimately they want to win the White House more than anything in the world.
Right. And Trump, as you know, has gone all out trying to put immigration, not abortion, front and center of his campaign. He calls the border a bloodbath, Biden's bloodbath. He calls migrants animals, poisoning the bloodstream of the nation. Yet, the Latino vote continues to shift his way, according to all data. Why?
Well, they're not a monolithic group of people. When you say Latino, that's inclusive of Hispanics who speak Spanish and Latinos like of Brazilian descent who are considered Latinos who don't speak Spanish. Latinos are not monolithic in any way, and I think it would be arrogant to suggest that we should view them through that lens as one-issue voters. Same with African Americans, where there could be a number of animating issues. Although we can say that possibly they're voting against some of their interests, which has been true for many communities over the years, it does not surprise me if Latinos do not hew to the singular issue of immigration. I don't think we should overestimate the complexity of what goes into their votes.
Right. All right. Meanwhile, President Biden continues to face major backlash for his handling of the war in Gaza. Daily Show host Jon Stewart, who gets a lot of ratings, he again weighed in. Take a listen.
The subtext of all this is America knows this is wrong, but it apparently doesn't seem to have the courage to say it in a straightforward manner. America and Israel both know that you cannot bomb your way into safety. We learned that lesson in Iraq and Afghanistan. They learned it in southern Lebanon. They laid siege there, occupied the southern area for 20 years. All it did was birth and strengthen Hezbollah. And they're about to do it all over again, and we are letting them.
Agree with him?
No, we're not letting Israel do anything. Israel is a sovereign nation. And also, Benjamin Netanyahu may ask or accept the counsel of President Biden on occasion. Ultimately, the final decision is with Netanyahu, who's responsible for the safety and security of his nation. Although politically, it may not benefit Joe Biden to have to see this carnage continue in Gaza. He doesn't get to control what Hamas does. Hamas has come out this morning and said that allegedly they do not have 40 hostages to exchange in this first round of negotiations. Joe Biden can't control that. Can't control whether Benjamin Netanyahu should go further into Gaza. These are things that Joe Biden just cannot control. Although we would like him to control it, he cannot control it.
But, Mo, it is dividing the Democratic Party. What does he have to do on this? Obviously, Biden wants to stand by Israel in its fight against this terrorist group, Hamas, but also wants to be, supportive of the plight of the Palestinians. It's dividing the party. You've seen it in Michigan. You saw it in Wisconsin. What does he have to do on this issue to bring Democrats together?
First, no doubt, it has divided the party. It has split his coalition and has endangered his incumbency and whether he can become president. I don't know if there's something that he can specifically control in the short term other than reassure the American public and Democrats more specifically that he understands the fullness of the issue and is working to change the issue. But short of telling Israel that we're not going to fund them in the future, there's no answer that he can give which is going to satisfy his harshest critics. In states like Michigan or in Wisconsin, you have larger Arab and Muslim American communities. I don't think there is a good answer because, unfortunately for him, he is a candidate who's running for office.
Yeah, running indeed as the incumbent. All right, let's turn now to a chaotic Congress, members back in session after spring break. Marjorie Taylor Greene continues to threaten to oust Speaker Johnson for working with Democrats on the budget deal and now threatens to vacate. What happens?
I believe that she is of her word. She is an agent of chaos. She is not interested in governing. She is interested in creating her own narrative of chaos. And that, unfortunately, for the Republicans, is damaging to the GOP. It is hurting their ability to retain hold of the Congress or the House, at least. And so whatever she does is going to be to the detriment of the Republicans. It's not hurting the Democrats. You would almost think that she's acting as a Democrat and doing things which put Republicans in a negative light and also makes it more difficult for them to govern. I expect her to follow through on her threats because it serves her personally and politically, but not the party.
Yeah, and obviously, while all this is happening, aid to Ukraine and Israel hangs in the balance at very critical times. If the speaker does vacate, as you think might happen, what happens to that aid?
It's going to be almost virtually impossible for it to get through without the help of the Democrats. And that goes back to Marjorie Taylor Greene, where if you don't have a unified Republican conference, you don't have the votes to pass that aid. Because of retiring a Republican Congress people, there is no majority at this point. It's virtually non-existent. So you're going to need a Hakeem Jeffries and other Democrats to step in, at least for the purpose of passing aid. That's a different question as to whether who's going to be the next Speaker of the House, because I fully expect Marjorie Taylor Greene to have that vote of no confidence and try to vacate the speakership again.
Wow. OK, we'll be watching that very closely. Before I let you go, I do want to turn to Trump's legal news. Again, losing his latest appeal in New York. His first criminal trial is set to begin on Monday. This is his former CFO, Alan Weisselberg, he was sentenced today for perjury, 5 months. Other Trump allies sentenced. Take a look. To prison include Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Michael Cohen, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort. I mean, when you take a look at that, what do you see? Does it get harder to justify, for him to justify that there's a witch hunt when all these guys have been convicted in a court of law by their peers?
Donald Trump is making a political argument to his base. He's not making a legal argument or even an argument based in reality. And for the Roger Stone and Paul Manafort convictions, he pardoned them. So it's not a function of whether we're having a legitimate conversation about whether these charges are warranted in nature. There's nothing that anyone can say or do, even if he were to be put in prison, where he would change his tune. He believes that he's unfairly prosecuted, that he's a martyr, and none of this has any basis in reality or legality. That is his message. That's what he's running on, and it's not going to change.
How come it's taken me so long to get you on the morning show to come and give us your vital expertise?
I will come on anytime that you should have me. I'm honored to be with you, Giselle. Thank you so much.
Mo Kelly, did you hear that, producers? We will be ringing you up almost on a daily basis. Mo Kelly, the host
Fair
of
enough.
Later with Mo Kelly. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great Wednesday. See you soon.
See you.
All right, and here's a live look from Hermosa Beach, everyone. Autumn is tracking. Another hot day today. Enjoy it for now because rain is coming back for the weekend. But take a stroll on the beach. We live in Southern California. Get on out there. We'll be back.